and welcome to a timeless Starseeds reading where you get to determine on your own, using your own discernment and the energies that are around you, whether or not you can make justification and build upon the terminology of what Starseeds means to you. You do not need to have a textbook definition of the term Starseeds to benefit from this reading. You may, on the contrary, also find yourself receiving more meaning after you leave the reading behind and you take bits and pieces of this intake along with you on your journey. Bear in mind a few things while we get ready for your reading is that I am 7th, aka Master 7th, that reads these energies for you. I am a master healer that provides remote wellness and tarot intuitive insights such as this. I have a little bit of information in further detail in the description box below, available to you via a link, and other forms of entertainment across this channel and my sister channel. Bear in mind that you have checked into a collective reading. This is not a one-to-one reading that you and I have a lot of time to. Again, just a collective insight. Feminine and masculine energy are non-gender specific. However, femininity has masculine and feminine energies, as well as masculinity having feminine and masculine energies as well. All right, again, I am not here to define the terminology of Starseeds. Just in the same context, I'm not here to define divine feminine, divine masculine, karmic, twin flame, soul mate, true soulmate, or divine counterpart, God, or all that jazz. Okay. More or less, I'm the messenger of some kind. That's it. Take what resonates, leave the rest behind. Make things make themselves sense to you. All right, we have the King of Cups. All right, Starseeds. So, no matter what it is that you may want to explain from the inner self that may or may not make sense to you, but you need to make sense of it, so you want to talk. There are going to be countless of people and more or less individuals in meat suits who may or may not give a shit to what it is that you have to say. Okay? That might just be clear because just in general, not everyone might be interested in your bullshit or your life. And that might be the reason why, you're on your wit's end for a lot of shit. Like, the cup is flowing over with too much shit and not enough accountability. And the accountability is not necessarily just onto you. It is the accountability of everything that is involving you. That's also energies when you're not sharing the same room. How people talk about you, how people represent your honor, your name, the energies that make you who you are. And it's difficult for people to be open in many different things. Some people who love a certain thing more or less kind of maybe hint at the fact that they're less open and about other things because they have a set liking to something. So why would they change something that they like? So some people have that mentality, and that's totally fine. Whatever is for them is for them. There is no justification for needing to start a war with somebody else's justifications. Like, there is none. Unless is only there unless we understand that when the cup flows over, there's a responsibility that is needed because all of a sudden there's chaos. And Mother Nature don't really like chaos. She is chaos, but there is harmony within the chaos. That even the chaos is not chaos. It's purification and detox. Shit is bitter sometimes, but Mother Nature is the most healing things that you could ever consume. Look how interesting she made that. And it kind of goes away in the way of also explaining how some relationship works. some relationship work in the regards that, you know, you might catch yourself going to work and someone else in the vicinity or within that construct of time gives you a little attitude. It's shit's a little bit bitter. And then the next day, the person comes back and something is like, they left a bitter taste, but it was bittersweet and it lasted. It was memorable. You know, you remember something and it's becoming enticing. It's like, you know, maybe it's something that you never saw possible is actually quite fucking healing for you. So the most absurd circumstances can also be born from that statement. You know, never believing certain politics of the family and learning of new ones, allowing yourself the journey of discovery, because even if you're wrong on the discovery, if you left someplace secure, they will always welcome you home. Remember that, Starseeds. Remember that. Hierophant. What is home is home. You are home within your flesh. Wherever your flesh goes, your home goes with you. Some people manipulate others or their existence just to stuff their home so that they feel not alone, so they feel... Some people need things around them because they don't want to address internal conversations. So if they can create an atmosphere where everyone is triggered with amongst each other, it keeps that individual who has more or less quote unquote secrets from not talking. We're not addressing certain things and living more or less in a lie. You know, too much moisture in a situation and not enough ventilation can cause mildew. To stay stuck and stagnant in a situation that may or may not be fruitful will speak for itself. And not everything that comes from imperfection also mean that the baseline is imperfect. Meaning you could come into a situation, and what I really truly saw was somebody thinning hair, and I immediately felt that and like, oh, I resonate with that, because you almost think that, well, then what's wrong with me? Of course there might be something off or not as well as it should be for the thinning of the hair loss to occur. You know, that's more or less almost saying it's natural. You know, it's natural, these ups and downs, and some people have more ups and downs or heavier ups and downs. And in that journey of personal discovery, it's not to say just because there are uncomfortable discoveries about yourself that the base of who you are is wrong. No, it's more or less there are impurities that is in competition with your purities. So your purities will always outweigh the impurities. But if you don't know what is pure and what is not pure, what is pure versus what's not pure, how will you understand the difference? How will you understand how to maneuver in that? How will you feel the difference between what is fortuitous and what is not? How will you learn the definition of when someone says takes what resonates and what doesn't, but they throw 12 out of the 13 fucking zodiac signs at you? You're like, well, which one? How is it? Who is it? What? You're telling what? Like, what do you do internally in order to take the information that was given to you and the onslaught or the little that it is and make sense with what is and what isn't? How do you do that? Internally, that's how you do that. How do you shuffle one from the other and find strength to determine the difference between the two, even if it means to kind of be stuck to one attraction for a period of time and then maybe disinterested and move on to another attraction, but how they're in like a symbiosis between the two. That's your intuition playing a beckoning call with itself. You know, having a sensation and maybe like 3 hours, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years later, be in tune with the feeling that you had at that moment. Same way as this moment can accrue in that 3 hour, 3 minute, 3 hours, 3 minute, 3 months, 3 years, and be here right now. And this answers to something in the past. All that is the genius energies of the Virgo Hermit energy, where in the way that I seventh read the energies, Hermit for me is galaxy, which more or less somewhere in the ether has been fact checked. For the humans to be like, yay, I can accept. Instead of, yes, I feel it. All right. Look at that. Two of Cups with the Four of Pentacles. How do you divvy the energies of feminine, masculine energy? Separate it for feminine, masculine energy, and how do you separate that for feminine energy and masculine energy, feminine, masculine energy, feminine, masculine energy? Like, how do you swim in that, right? How do you make discernment decisions based on that, and then determine for yourself where it capitulates for, oh, you're my person, or the quest for person to come, or pivot because you're not my person. Those are three different circumstances that could all be determined with you looking at yourself and being like, you may not want to face that individual. You may not want to speak to that individual. But learning how to look at it is forcing the narrative regardless. So becoming secure in thyself and the multifaceted ways of feeling, to feel that expression of self, will help you understand which relationships to trust, which relationships was a quest to learn from, even if it triggered trust within you and then capitulated itself to being dishonest. That was a lesson. It was a lesson. It's a lesson to differentiate the difference between truths, facts, and then nonfiction. Okay, there can be nonfiction and give like not so clear fact and tell the story and be based off a true story, but it's not telling it to you the way it really turned out. That's all truth. What you get out of that are versions of honesty. All that triggers the ability of finding a better relationship with your intuition and making it count for yourself so that you can trust the relationships that are required to get in tune with who it is that you are from a inner worldly perspective or an externally triggering world. You know, there's some people who are more introverted than others, and others who are more extroverted than others, and some who have bouts of more introvertedness and extrovertedness, and vice versa. To ask yourself to bring one closure to everything that controls it is easy. It's you. And then that question is also you, and it's also you, and that's also you. And if that may have not happened if you weren't there, that all may have not happened if you didn't exist. So, unfortunately, there are many things that you can trigger. As much as it may trigger responsibility of being able to have controlled that narrative or not, all that it is a narrative. And you're learning about that lesson. So that way you really, 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 really feel which umbilical cord you truly come from, in which truly you are temporarily disconnected from, which is beyond the realm of where once may have meant for you to be in the womb of your own creator. Let's get you some other cards. Some of you are deciding to, paint your world with color, and that's all speaking to the vibrations of what Starseeds highlights. All right, it highlights a lot of colors, and they all have all sorts of galactic capability and ability, strengths and weaknesses, tests and testaments. Restoration, temperance energy here. All right, really feeling that illumination here. You see the background of the lights with here the twinkling of illumination, the chakra of the crown and the third eye and the throat are top tier blasted. And that will show in so many different ways, needing to step into action, needing to learn how to listen, learn how to speak so that others also listen when you speak, taking control, taking the mic, learning how to be in the audience, knowing when to clap, knowing when to not, knowing when to be quiet, knowing when to speak, knowing when to demand, knowing when to ask, knowing, and learning while all this knowing happens that you may have not known or may have known already. All that's part of a trial and error basis, that we have more chances to lose what they are, and the more we're behind technological things that distract us from our own emotions, because they can be very alluring to allow us to suppress other things or other provocative inquiries of the mind or feeling of the heart. All right, we have Oduro Sinsen, tradition. Okay, some of you are worried about, what goes behind closed doors, which medium to trust, which psychic to trust, which reader to trust. I say a great starting point is don't go into community-based shit, all right? I'm not someone who's going to advocate for that. It doesn't mean that you won't see me at a certain place and time and want to be a Becky and be like, oh, you're working for a community? No, I'm not working for no community. The community is here. Okay. What I mean by that is, there's one thing to socialize and network, but there's another thing to be in another person's time or place, or a hodgepodge of time and place, and not think that cannot affect the information given or provided or understood or needing to be interpreted. They could be misinterpreted. And that's with respect to the fact that everyone on an individual lesson of life is not fucking perfect. So I don't know, besides what I know of myself, to come or having had, compared to anyone else that decides to click on this, whether you're a bot, you're a real person, you hate me, you love me, that as rightful as you may be to express in that, I am just as rightful to be in the expression of myself. Now, the ability to understand that when you work with individuals that want to aim at the same goal, you have to give credit that the individual who's deciding to meet up with another individual who is also deciding are now two individuals deciding and both have issues. So as much as they're trying to aim at something, they're also coming with something. And that is important to at least understand when you're making these decisions of an outcome for yourself. This is the same precautions that you may take or learn to make or decide to make, or hopefully give yourself credit to decide on having, on who to trust, who's your doctor, who to trust, who's your therapist, what availabilities are there depending on economical conveniences or privileges, or strife. Those all play a role, and that's all understood by universe. And that on the same way that we are expressing ourselves as being part of this universe, to know that we can't change that inevitability. It just looks at different ways. It has multi different forms of defining itself for itself. Yet you come with something that has security, which is the lateral of what I just said. So making that make sense is a pendulum of where you exist. You're all of that. You're the journey of both bookends between each other, as much as you're the one end and the other end. To understand that is to know that you will know how to navigate informational energies that may want to manipulate you. You can learn. You might learn that you've lost $5 or more because you decided to trust that, person who hasn't been in that situation when you've been introduced with the journey of tarot. That the person in the corner, the gypsy, can, hey, you, let me change your life. It's like we've all been there, done that. As much as you may have, had a bad day at work, or a shitty ass argument with a person that you care about, or some family member who decided to forgo their own responsibility and abandon the responsibilities that they decided to participate on, or at least created. There are so many atrocities to life. To keep yourself stuck in only one, and say that one outrules all atrocity as being the most atrocious thing, is incredulous and just wrong. Because there are things that you probably do within a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week calendar that might just piss somebody off, make somebody feel shit, make somebody feel off. Does that make you a bad person because they're feeling that way? No. So it's a very thin line and a very double-edged sword at the same time, to sniff out energies that might make you not feel good, and for you to trust that energy of self to be the only reason that you need it in that moment to validate whether or not you can trust something or not. It is within you. The feeling of purity is within you as much as the feeling of, this is not, I know it's not pure. So if it doesn't feel pure, then maybe that's your answer. Maybe that's the hiccup, the only hiccup that you needed in that nano of a half a breath to go with something. And sometimes there's so many moments in that are fleeting that no matter what, it always has lessons. It always, always, always has lessons. I'm getting, I think, all right, three more cards for you. allow the energies to do whatever they want to do as your anticipatory. For those of you who are thinking about getting a tattoo, make sure that you honor the symbolism that will take you on in this journey. Oh shit. And who you're getting it from, because someone just, yeah, who you're getting that tattoo from. Alright, don't go for cheap. Go for quality. Sometimes cheap can be quality. Understand the difference between the two and know when they're married together. Some of you may need to satiate your subconscious with binaural beats. I do recommend the use of headphones for this, okay? It can be uncomfortable for some people to lay down with headphones. Obviously, be very conscientious of the cords and stuff like that, and also the time spent of how long your headphones are on your head when you have Bluetooth enabled, all right? At the same time, understand that the title of the reading is what it is, and that if you embody that vibration however you can, you are above many narratives of what would be illegitimate of needing to concern yourself with that. Now, how infectious that is for you, that's not to be determined at this point, because this is not a one-on-one reading, okay? The exponential possibilities is for you to be able to discern that journey for yourself. Okay, so the first card for you, balance, we have chaos. So in the times of chaos, there is a strong sense of being in balance, and that's how you can validate what Starseeds mean. That no matter what goes wrong, you bring the energies of healing to everything around you. People just are magnetized to you, like wildly so. And then you have crystal technology, silicon. The magic is in your hands. So that means, quite literal, stop using so much hand sanitizer. If you are using it, wash your hands more with non-toxic soap, okay? For those of you who have nail polish, make sure you scrub underneath your nails when you're washing your hands. After washing your hands, put lotion on your hands, moisturize your hands. Some of you are meant to increase your knowledge of what it means to be a healer. Others of you are also being told to do less touching, because the more you touch individuals in a way that they are not sharing their automatic energy of love upon receiving your touch, they're sucking and draining you. Okay, so keep that in mind for those of you who are more single, and what it means to date or be in intimate relationships with individuals, that you have a exponential amount of possibility of empowering multifaceted feelings within another individual. That's all because there's might be still needing to streamline and understand your multifaceted ways. So just be mindful of that in regards to, how many people you sleep with. You embody them as a high vibrational individual and interest who also want to dance with their ancestors. Keep that in mind. That resonates for someone. All right, because someone is very clearly able to speak with the dead, those deceased, those transgressed, those on the other side. Some of you see them, smell them, are inundated with that, and are struggling a bit to remain in control and in insanity. Okay, you're not insane, but you're in the methods of sanity speaking out for itself. And that's a very powerful energy to be within and be in control of and learn to be able to control, because it wouldn't be introduced to you if you wouldn't be able to find a 100,000% control to learn all its viable lessons. All right, that is all that I have for you at this time, Starseeds. I'm wishing you a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are in the ether of this time and space. Again, if you'd like any of my services of any kind, or you want to explore, go check out that description box below, and or shoot me some form of email to see where you'd like to touch base. Okay, I'm taking I don't know, I'm taking nothing. I don't know what, I don't know where that was going, but either way, I'm wishing you a wonderful morning, noon, or night, and may you keep flowing, growing, and glowing. Take care.